Zoetermeer is a city in the western Netherlands, in the province of South Holland. The municipality covers an area of 37.05 square kilometers, of which 2.50 square kilometers is water. A small village until the late 1960s, it had 6,392 inhabitants in 1950. By 2013 this had grown to 123,328, making it the third largest population centre in the province of South Holland, after Rotterdam and The Hague. It is part of the Haglanden conurbation. The name, Zoetermeer, refers to the former fresh lake north of the town. History. In the 10th century, Zoetermeer was a small village, primarily home to farmers and fishermen. In the 13th century a village centre was formed, which still exists as the historic Dorpsstraat. Until the 17th century there was a lake called the Zoetermeer. A reminder of this is the Noordzee, at the northern edge of town. An artificial lake was created when tons of sand were needed as building material for the foundations for new housing development, and the area north of Zoetermeer provided a good source. Until 1935 the village centre was split into two villages, Zoetermeer and Zegwaard. The standard of living at the time was said to be higher in Zoetermeer than in Zegwaard. Segwet, an older way of speaking of Zegwaard, is now the name of a neighborhood outside the old village center. Zoetermeer began to grow slightly when the first train service came around 1868. A few decades later the new Miko factory started near the station. The real growth started in 1966, when there was an urgent need of houses from people around The Hague. From then they were started to build new quarters around the old village centre, so Zoetermeer began to grow and became a city in the meantime. Although Zoetermeer nowadays has the image of a modern city, there are still remains of the past, like the old village centre with its small houses and the church with late medieval 15th century clock tower, and the old farms, surrounded by modern houses nowadays. Lake Dobbe divides the old town from the new city centre, with the medieval village centre on one side of the lake and the modern high-rise and skyscrapers on the other side. Neighborhoods. Zoetermeer is divided into 10 neighborhoods, which cover most of the municipality's territory, with the remainder being the commercial area in the east and the mostly green and undeveloped Buitengebied in the west. Every neighborhood has at least one shopping mall and a tram stop. Each neighborhood consists of one or more wijken, each of which has a separate postcode with differing last two digits following 27. From within Zoetermeer's 2710-2729 assigned postcodes, these neighborhoods have the following names. Dorp, literally meaning village. This WIJK covers mostly the territory of the pre-existing village of Zoetermeer, with the central Dorpsstraat with historic buildings serving as a shopping and recreation area. The area also features the historic De Hoop windmill, which, unlike many other windmills in the area used for drainage, has always been used as a corn mill. The postcode for Zoetermeer Dorp is 2712. Drymanspolder was the first area to be developed as part of modern Zoetermeer, and contains mostly large multi-apartment buildings characteristic of the era. It is next to the A12 motorway, which forms the southern border of the WIJK, and directly north of the Zoetermeer railway station. Pallenstein is north of the Dorp, deriving its name from the former castle of Pallenstein, which used to stand there. It mainly consists of high-rise residential development. A rejuvenation project was started in Pallenstein in 2006, providing for the renovation of some and demolition of other older buildings. Meerzicht, literally meaning lake view. Meerzicht is divided by the Randstadrail light rail tracks into Meerzicht Oost, with taller block of flats, and Meerzicht West with low-rise residential development. Further to the west is the Westerpark Green Recreation Area. Buitenweg lines. The development of this area marked the shift to the development of single-family homes with private gardens, more popular with Dutch families of that and coming decades, and encompasses the much older settlements of Buitenweg and de Lines, and an area called Buitenweg de Lines Percé. Segwert was formed around what was the former village of Zegwaart, which fused with Zoetermeer in 1935. Using the archaic speaking of the locale's name, the old Zegwaart was a ribbon development along what remains until today as Zegwaartseweg, which is perpendicular to Dorpstraat. It is further divided into Segwert Oost, Midden and Noord. Stadcentrum. The construction of a new centre of Zoetermeer actually started only in 1981, to serve as a shopping and administrative heart of the city. It followed modern urban planning principles, placing parking garages, some storage facilities and a Randstad rail station on the ground level, which is covered by pedestrian and bicycle-only area with shops on the lower floors and apartments above them, to ensure the centre does not die out outside of the business hours. The centre was completed in phases, the last one as of 2012 being the Spazio shopping centre and the Cadenza residential development in 2005-2006. Noordhoeve is located between Segwert to the south and the artificial lake known as Zoetermeersplas to the north. Unlike the other Wijeken, it has no dedicated Randstad rail station, as both Randstad rail track branches run to the south of it. Rokkeveen is separated from the other Wijeken by the A12 motorway and the Den Haag-Gouda railway line. As such, it enjoys direct access to Zoetermeer's railway stations and features numerous crossings under or over both transport corridors to allow access to the rest of Zoetermeer. Rokkeveen is further divided into Rokkeveen Oost and Rokkeveen West. A significant turning point in the development of this part of town was the Floriade of 1992, which took place there. Rokkeveen Oost extends between the railway stations Zoetermeer Oost and Zoetermeer. The Mandelaarbrug was built over the latter for the Floriade as a covered bicycle and pedestrian passage over the railway motorway and the Randstad rail, which adjoins it at this point from the north. The Mandelaarbrug connects the train station, the Randstad rail station Dryermanspolder and the Wijeken of Randstad Oost and Dryermanspolder. Next to the Mandelaarbrug runs a road crossing, a bridge between Afrikaweg on the northern side and Zoutweg and Rokkeveen. The other crossing of the road, pedestrian and bicycle tunnels between Tweed and Eerste Stationstraat next to Zoetermeer Oost train station, connecting Rokkeveen Oost with Dorp. The historic water tower de Tien Gemma Anton is also now located in Rokkeveen Oost. Rokkeveen West mainly encompasses newer development on the grounds of the former Floriade Park, which includes both residential and office buildings. Oosterheem is the newest district of Zoetermeer, of in its location and the source of Zoetermeer's most recent and continuing growth, which allowed it to become the third most populous municipality in South Holland. The district's development was not without problematic issues and delays, stemming first from the concerns over the environmental impacts of such development, and later from the planning and construction of HSL Zoud, which now forms the district's and municipality's eastern border. An enduring concern is an old pipeline, now used for the transportation of pressurized CO2, which runs through Oosterheem. Oosterheem is served by 3 stations on Randstad Rail Line 4, whose tracks branch out from the original Randstad Rail loop in Segwert. It is further divided into Oosterheem Oost and Oosterheem West. Wijekposten Zoetermeer has a network of Wijekposten, which provide more direct contacts between the municipality and the inhabitants of the neighborhoods. The Wijekposten employ personnel to deal with housing issues and provide space for local police officers. There are 6 Wijkposten throughout Zoetermeer. Buitenweg lines Meerzicht, Oosterheem and Rokkeveen have a Wijkpost each, while Noordhoven and Segwet share a common station, and Wijkpost Center serves Dorp, Drijemanspolder, Palenstein and Stadscentrum, which are for some purposes also lumped together as Zoetermeer Centrum. Economy. Zoetermeer is a so-called ICT city, which means Zoetermeer has a modern infrastructure and many schools that offer ICT-related education. Also, 20% of the population of Zoetermeer already has an ICT-related job. Siemens and Toshiba also have factories in Zoetermeer. The municipality of Zoetermeer designates a comparatively large part of the budget to computers for schools. To stress the ICT tradition of Zoetermeer, the city is the first in the world to have a city hall in Second Life. Transport. Light rail. The former Zoetermeer Stadslijn urban railway was rebuilt as light rail in 2006-2007. The Stadslijn was the only urban railway in the Netherlands. It had 12 stations in Zoetermeer and ran to and from The Hague Central Station. The new light rail system is a part of the Randstadrail network between The Hague, Rotterdam and Zoetermeer. Besides the rebuilt Stadslijn, which now has 13 stations, the new line Oosterheemlijn leads to a new suburb called Zoetermeer Oosterheem. It will count up to 30,000 inhabitants when completed, making it the largest quarter of Zoetermeer. The Oosterheemlijn currently has 3 stations, but will be extended to Rotterdam in the future via Bleeswijk and Berkel. Heavy rail. Zoetermeer has 2 stations on the main railway between The Hague and Utrecht. Zoetermeer Zegwaard, built where the city was connected by railway in 1868, burnt down in 1906. On its location stands Zoetermeer Oost. Zoetermeer Station, the main station, is more recent. The HSL Zout high-speed line from Amsterdam to Paris passes Zoetermeer on its eastern side. Although there have been proposals to open a station on the line, this seems highly unlikely. Motorway. Zoetermeer is next to the A12 motorway, connecting The Hague with Utrecht, Arnhem and Germany. Religion. Zoetermeer is the only place in the Netherlands with a temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is situated near the old village centre. Entertainment and recreation. This former new town used to be a satellite city of The Hague, as many residents worked, shopped and were entertained in The Hague. With the growth of Zoetermeer came a large theatre, mega-cinemas, and other entertainment such as go-karts, laser gaming, survival centre, and a golf centre. The Locomotion discotheque, the first mega-disco of the Netherlands, was the oldest of them. Locomotion closed its doors in 2011 and has since become a restaurant called Eten Enzo. Snow World. Snow World was the first indoor ski slope made of real snow in Europe, opened in 1996. It now has 3 slopes, of which the 200-meter slope is the longest. Plans are being made to extend this to 300-meter. Snow World attracts over 1 million visitors each year, making it the most important tourist attraction in Zoetermeer. Dutch Water Dreams. Dutch Water Dreams is an artificial Olympic wild water rafting circuit. It is a copy of the one built in China for the 2008 Olympic Games and is mainly used for training by European rafting teams, and also for team building and recreation. DWD also has an indoor flow rider center. Silverdome. Silverdome is an indoor Olympic ice skating track and convention center. It is used as a training center for the KNSB, the Dutch Olympic and World Championship ice skaters. Outside the skating season, it is used as a convention center and concert hall and for large raves. Indoor dive. There are plans to build an indoor diving center in Zoetermeer, 70 meters in diameter and 30 meters deep. It will be the largest indoor diving center in the world. There will be a coral reef and underwater caves and a large beach around the edge. 10,000 lives. Tropical fish should make it as realistic as possible. Parks. Zoetermeer has many parks, the biggest being the Wester Park, on the west side of town. It is almost as large as Central Park in New York. Other notable parks are the Boynton Park, the Aldo Van Eyck Park, the Binnen Park, the Van Tuyl Park, the Hoogstra Park, the Wilhelmina Park, the Floriada Park, the Seguetterhout, and the Seguet Park. At the north side there is a lake, the Zoetermeersplas, often called Noordzee because it is in the Noordzee recreational area. There is a beach along one side of the lake and a marina on the other. Wind and kitesurfing, sailing and fishing are the most popular activities on the lake. On both the west and east side of the city, forests are being planted, called balijbo's and benchwoud. These forests are intended to form a natural barrier between The Hague and Zoetermeer. International relations. Twin towns, sister cities. Zoetermeer is twinned with Nitra, Slovakia; Gnotega, Nicaragua; Xiamen, China; Odorheiu-Secuiesc, Romania. Notable people from Zoetermeer. Born in Zoetermeer, Romy Stride, model; Antonius van den Broek, Dutch amateur physicist and lawyer; Suzanne Harms, Dutch gymnast; Leroy Fer, Dutch footballer; Rutger Direct, Dutch designer; Bert van der Spek, Dutch ancient historian; Dennis Princewell Ster, better known as Mr. Probes, Dutch singer-songwriter, rapper, producer and actor; Karen Venhausen, Dutch figure skater; Charlton Vicento, Dutch footballer. Residents of Zoetermeer. Zeniestad de Jong, Dutch track and field athlete; Hilbrand Navine, Dutch politician; Joppie Selbach, Dutch freestyle swimmer.